two things obviously I want to share everybody is the cost of waiting script that I use. That's a big one right now when people are, worried about the market and they're saying, I'm just going to wait for interest rates to come down because they're concerned about rates and payment. So, I've got a YouTube video on this as well, but my script to them is let me explain to you the cost of waiting. And I give them an example and say, hey, run some numbers. If you do a $500,000 house today at 6.5, 675 versus a year from now, that same house is maybe 535, but the rate's 1% lower. What's the difference in the payment? Well, they're pretty similar, maybe 40 or 50 bucks cheaper in the future. But the cost of waiting piece that people don't understand that they have to take into consideration outside of the financials is number one, if you buy now, you're going to make that equity on the upswing. Yes, you might save a little bit in the payment when rates are cheaper, but you're going to make so much more in the equity on the upswing that it's worth you to do it, because as rates drop, demand goes up, which means prices go up. And so they'll make money on the appreciation. So that's the first thing it costs them. It's not just the difference in the payment, but the cost of the appreciation piece. The second thing on the cost appreciation is just, explaining to them the quality of houses, right? They're not the only person with the idea of waiting until 5%. And when everybody comes off the sideline, it's a flood. It's a mass hysteria. So if you're able to get a house on a scale of 1 to 10 right now, it's a 7. Yeah, you may be able to get one in a year when rates are, a little bit better, but that's probably going to be a 6. The other component we talk about cost of waiting is closing costs, right? Right now, you're able to get costs into the deal, seller concession, save you 5 or 10 grand in your pocket. You won't be able to get that in the future. The cost of waiting will hurt you there as well. The other component of that is the rat race. We all remember when COVID happened, it was impossible to get a house, really, really hard to buy a house. And so you have to explain to them, hey, this maze that it's going to create a year from now when rates are 1% plus lower, you save a little bit in the payment, but you're going to have to be on the street 24/7. You're going to have to make decisions within seconds, which is not the ideal way to buy a house. And so you have to create the fear around that as well, understanding that you may not even get one. If you do, you may have to also go over list price, do an appraisal waiver, and you may have to pay 10, 15, 20, 30, 30K pocket out of your own money in order to get that house. And so explaining to them all the other variables on the cost of waiting just outside of the rate and the payment lets them see the totality of the market, the pros and the cons, and how they're going to miss out on appreciation, quality of houses, self-paid closing cost, be in the street 24/7. And if they get their hands on one, they may have to overpay and come out of pocket extra cash. So that's how you can show them all those components and give them a sense of urgency and say, do it now, make the appreciation, don't deal with the nonsense. When the refi boom happens, you can do it, but you'll be sitting on your couch, hanging out, having fun, not dealing with the rest of society. And that way you got the best of both worlds.